So we see up in the top, Grixis Delver is going to have, that's going to be a great match too. Lands versus Grixis Delver, both of them great players here. Jund versus Humans, you mentioned I kind of like Jund in this matchup. This could go either way. And then Blue-Black Control from Syed versus Sultai Constrictor from Pikula. I have to say, I like this. I like these matchups for the team on the right.
Yes, the kill spell decks, Jund and Lands, I think are reasonable favorites here. Sultai Constrictor versus Blue-Black Control is a lot closer. Yeah. I do like the Fatal Push deck against the Winding Constrictor deck.
All right, so start off, pair of fast lands and an Aether Vial here from John Rosum.
And this is one of those matchups where Vial, you're kind of going down cards. The Jund deck's just playing a bunch of removal spells. The game's going to generally go pretty long. Unless you use it to really effectively leverage some extra mana out of the Vial, draw exactly one Vial, draw the right number of lands. It's kind of a liability. It feels like you've mulliganed when you draw it.
Yeah, Thalia from John. It's a good play here, as if Reed had Fatal Push, he can't make it. What he can do is cast Tarmogoyf, but it is a 0/1 Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, they do not get any smaller than that.
And also, with that Aether Vial, as you were mentioning with Attrition, it also just gives Reed a second option on possible Kolaghan's commands he draws.
Yes. You get to hit a creature, hit the artifact as well. Inevitably, that grows the Tarmogoyf as well.
We see Kitesail Freebooter. It will take a Lightning Bolt. The rest of Reed's hand is 4 more lands and a Bloodbraid Elf. All right, then.
That is a weak one.
And I like how Jonathan's played this. So there was a turn 1 Blackcleave Cliffs from Reed. And you figure that Jund, he either has a fetch land or a tap land turn 1. If they're playing Blackcleave Cliffs, either they're keeping a 1-lander or there's a removal spell.
Yeah, with no discard spell, it's either Lightning Bolt or Fatal Push.
And so what he does is he leads off first on Thalia, and then Kitesail freeboots the Lightning Bolt. This was really well played by Rosum.
Yep, constrain the mana, can't Lightning Bolt through Thalia on turn 1. Freebooter to make sure that it's there and grab it.
Yeah, and he takes the opportunity when Reed's tapped out. And now we see Reflector Mage puts Tarmogoyf back into Reed's hand.
And Rosum very far ahead now.
Yeah. Do we see anything in Reed's deck? Sometimes you see like 1 Damnation in Jund. Any true sweepers?
Nothing like that. I mean, there's some Maelstrom Pulse, what have you, some 3-mana spells, but they're pretty mopey, especially against the Thalia.
Yeah, and also mentioned this Bloodbraid Elf in Reed's hand.
That has a bad interaction against Thalia.
Yeah, you almost want to play it on 5 mana.
Right. If you cast it for 4 and find a non-creature spell, you have to be able to pay a mana to cast it.
Right.
And, you know, Thalia is just a 2/1 first striker against your Bloodbraid Elf.
Yeah, it's funny here. Jonathan is really far ahead. He actually hasn't tapped Aether Vial yet.
Yeah, that Vial is really not the story of this game at all.
Now swings in for 5 more. Reed down to 13. At this point, I'm not sure Jonathan's going to cast much else. He doesn't really need to.
No, not for a little while anyway.
I don't know how much he'll respect something like a Damnation. That would be pretty strange.
Yeah, you generally won't see that game 1. You don't even always see it in the 75.
Against Abzan, you sometimes see that. You might want to respect it. Jund usually doesn't do it.
Humans also kind of puts you in spots where you just have to check them for the sweeper.
Because all your cards care about having more of them, you don't get to play around it, you mean?
Right. In a game like this, where Reed's really not on the battlefield and Rosum has a few creatures, this is one where you might hold back, even if you were worried about that.
Yeah, you'd hate to see something like Reed top deck a Fatal Push, end step, push your freebooter, untap, bolt your other guy, and then suddenly Bloodbraid Elf wins.
Yes. With the Vial on 3, there's a lot of cards that Rosum could just be flashing in with that Vial as well. Unlikely that he has a Mantis Rider, because you have to imagine that that one would be attacking this turn.
First result is in on the Legacy table. It is Jarvis Yu with lands, controls the creature deck, and extends the game. He's up 1-0.
Yeah, game 1, definitely the hardest game for Grixis Delver in that matchup.
Yeah.
Post-sideboard, things will shake up a little bit, though. Lands generally, I believe, still favored in a match.
It used to be that Lands was a heavy favorite against Delver decks, both pre- and post-board. But with Lands getting so good and it being on everyone's radar, you're starting to see sideboards that are much better equipped than they used to be to fight Lands.
Yes. Yeah, there's just more surgical extractions in the format.
We even saw 3 Blood Moons in the sideboard of Harlan Fear.
Yeah, that one is kind of an oddball.
It'll crush his Lands opponents.
Yes.
I mean, we see Kessig Malcontents vialed in on Reed's end step. This 3-1 is a big deal right here. Deals damage equal to the number of humans. We're looking at a 4-point life swing.
Not to mention going into the turn with another 3-power attacker.
Yeah, that would mean, so this is a 4-point swing, puts Reed to 9. The attack would put Reed to 1.
Yeah. If Reed has anything, this is the window to cast it.
Yeah. And it means that, okay, so that puts Reed to 1 matters because Reed's land for this turn was Verdant Catacombs.
Yep.
So now he can't really use the mana because it gives Rosum another turn.
And that 4th mana to unlock some of the spells that he cannot cast. Liliana of the Veil, Kolaghan's Command, Maelstrom Pulse. You can't do any of this through Thalia without a 4th mana.
Yeah, and we're still on Reed's end step. I mean, John's gets a whole nother turn.
Mm-hmm.
So Reed fetches to 12.
Possible Reed was in the tank. He has a Kolaghan's Command and is not sure what to do with both modes. Rosum on 2 cards. The discard doesn't seem great, but Rosum plenty of lands. The destroy Vial doesn't seem great either.
It feels like if he had more time, I think Reed would want to hit Kite Sail Freebooter because then he'd earn his Lightning Bolt back. That sounds great, but I don't know.
That's the 1-power creature.
Yeah, I don't know if he gets to do that. Here is Kolaghan's Command. He'll hit Malcontents and the Vial. So instead of hitting the 1-power creature, hits the 3-power. Means he doesn't buy back his Lightning Bolt, and that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, and he has a good mix of spot removal still in the deck. There's an Abrupt Decay, a Terminate, more Lightning Bolts, Fatal Pushes.
Despite
I guess 1 Fatal Push.
Killing the Malcontents, the trigger will still happen. It sends Reed down to 9, deals 3. Then there's an attack in for 5. Reed's at 4. And John plays Mirrodin Crusader. Pro-green, pro-black game 1.
Reed needs to deal with this freebooter and get that bolt back right now, and he does not have it. We're going to game 2.
Yeah, Mirrodin Crusader, a 1-of in the main for Rosum. Boy, is it good in this matchup.
Yes.
And a real pounding there. John Rosum just curving out with creatures. No Aether Vow required. He takes game 1 over John.
And a really mopey hand for Reed as well. That one is just not going to do it in this matchup.
Well, we're going to go to Reed's sideboard when we come back. You know that Jund is probably the best sideboarding deck in Modern, and Reed's going to be ready. We'll see that in just a minute. So we are back here looking at sideboarding for the Modern matchup of John Rosum versus Reed Duke. Now, one of the things that Jund gets to do, especially now that they Cascade, and I remember this from when it was in Standard, they usually have a stack of kill spells in the sideboard, so that when they play against a creature deck, they can just kill thing, Bloodbraid into kill thing.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Reed being able to do that?
So this configuration's a little bit light on that stuff. We go down, we have 3 Fulminator Mage. Those are important for Tron, not for here.
Right.
2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Collective Brutality, a Nile Spellbomb, a Grafdigger's Cage, an Engineered Explosives, a Thoughtseize, a Terminate, a Kitchen Finks, a Huntmaster of the Fells, and a Liliana the Last Hope. Some of these cards are fine. The Terminate's the only one that generally really plays. Is this an answer to Mantis Rider?
Yeah. Just kill something.
Yeah.
Easy.
Engineered Explosives, quite good in the matchup. Bad Cascade, but you know, you hope to draw it. Collective Brutality deals with a good number of the creatures. It's sorcery speed. It costs a lot of mana.
Yeah, it's 2 mana sorcery speed and it says kill most things.
I've had this card in my sideboard in this matchup, and it's just some of their stuff in your main deck is so bad that you have to go towards removal spells.
How do you feel about Liliana the Last Hope? I mean, it really gets Thalia. It can get other cards in the deck.
It's really bad against Thalia's Lieutenant. Once you're heavy enough on kill spells, I think it's good in the matchup. It's going to be bad in some games, but you should be bringing it in, I assume.
So on John Rosum's side, he has Direfleet Daredevils, Grafdigger's Cage, Gaddock Teague, Dismember, is it Staticaster, Hostage Taker, Selfless Spirit, and Mirren Crusader. So I know he's going to go for the second Mirren Crusader, but do you like anything else?
The Selfless Spirit's fine because you kind of control what the removal spells are going for. It's kind of a flag bearer in that regard. Don't hate Hostage Taker and Tarmogoyf matchups, though they're so heavy on kill spells, being a 2-3 against Lightning Bolt. That one's not great.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by Direfleet Daredevil.
Okay.
Being able to steal Lightning Bolts that both can just be a Lava Spike upstairs. It's a 2-1 first strike against Bloodbraid Elf. This card's actually pretty reasonable
Reed's
here.
actually on 4 Lightning Bolt, 1 Fatal Push. Now, I don't know if John Rosum knows that, but...
You would rather get Fatal Push. Lightning Bolt has just kind of been in vogue lately. That's been kind of the split. It's generally like 4-2, but 4-1's not that far outside of what John's probably expecting.
Okay.
But just getting Lightning Bolts also just reach, and that can matter a lot.
All right, game number 2, Reed, Inquisition of Kozilek. I was wondering how much of this he'd still have in. We will see. What has Rosum kept? It looks like Aether Vial, Meddling, or Reflector Mage. Is that
2 dismembers? This hand is rancid.
I'm very surprised John kept this. It's you assume your Jund opponent is going to take your first card, if not your second one, right? And Reed actually just takes Aether Vial. That's not a good sign for Rosum if that's what he's doing. Yeah, very surprised by that one.
You know, the deck, you do want to answer Tarmogoyf because it's so good at blocking your creatures, but having so many dismembers, certainly in your opening hand.
So here's the problem. Right, is that, say John keeps his hand, and both players just make lands, and then on turn 4, Reed plays Bloodbraid Elf. Like, how do you win?
Yeah, dismembering Bloodbraid Elf is a lot worse than dismembering Tarmogoyf.
Like John plays 1 creature, Reed Bloodbraids, Cascades, kills it, you see he makes Scavenging Ooze, that's going to eat it, sure, it'll trade with a Dismember, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to out-value a Jund deck.
This really looks like a misassignment of role.
Yeah.
Humans just has to be the beatdown here. A little too heavy on controlling elements.
We see both. Those are both his sideboarded dismembers. I don't hate that John boarded them in. I'm not sure I like the keep.
Yeah.
He reflects the ooze back into Reed's hand. So we'll just have to probably play a Bloodbraid Elf. Darn.
Rats.
Yeah, I mean, remember Reed knew about the Reflector Mage and cast the ooze into it.
Yeah.
He wanted this.
It's just not really a problem.
Fetches with Verdant Catacombs.
Yeah, the kind of hands that Rosum's looking for in this matchup is 1-drop, 2-drop, or 2 1-drops on turn 2, 3-drop.
You want multiple threats, and you want some of them to be pesky in the way where, you know, maybe they aren't all cleanly answered.
It's just really hard for Rosum to win a long game.
Yeah. Do you think Rosum keeps in Noble Hierarchs in this matchup?
So he's left in, you know, at least that 1 vial. This matchup, Hierarch's not as much of a liability as it is against something like an Electrolyzed deck.
This is exactly why I said I don't know how you beat Bloodbraid Elf. So Reed makes a play that forces John to commit to the board, and then Bloodbraid into Abrupt Decay is a removal spell, and John Rosum takes 3.
Yep.
This is just... Reed has drawn this up all the way from the turn 2 Scavenging. He said, I'm going to play this, you're going to reflect it, then I'm going to play the Bloodbraid, I'm going to kill your guy and hit you for 3, and all of it happened.
And this match so far has really been a story of opening hands. Reed's hand didn't do enough in game 1. Rosum's hand just does not line up at all in game 2.
All right, well, he does have a Mantis Rider. That swings across. See whether the Jund deck can produce a removal spell.
It's a tall order. It's a tall order.
Yeah. I mean, the race is still even. Ugh.
If you ignore the Treetop Village.
Oh, yeah, the race isn't even. Great.
Yeah.
So even if Reed doesn't have the removal spell, which he almost certainly does, then it's still fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rosum does have those 2 dismembers, though.
Attack for 3. Reed offers the trade. John would love to trade.
Yeah.
Always.
Trades 2-for-1s. Sign me up for all of that.
Land 5. Here's another 2-for-1. How about Dark Confidant, Scavenging Ooze? Oh, and I think there's a Lightning Bolt waiting.
Oh, Tarmogoyf even.
Oh, Tarmogoyf, not Ooze. Great. Instant, sorcery, creature, land, artifact. That's a 5/6 Tarmogoyf.
I am getting a lot of bingo squares right now. I don't want to alarm you, but I'm getting a lot of bingo squares.
I just assume I'm losing. I mean, this is how this works. It was nice. It was, for a bit, we got to pretend like bingo's not a rigged game.
I just practice a lot more than you do.
Hey, there's a Cavern of Souls in play, and I bet he named Human.
Correct, which is not Eldrazi or Elves.
I have a 4 in a row on that.
Ooh.
Card having 5 counters is a win. You're in trouble. That's a real out.
That's very doable.
Someone's just going to cast a Planeswalker.
Yeah.
Dismember on the Dark Confidant from Rosum, but he goes to 10. There's the Bloodbraid has given Jund this new angle where before Jund always had to out-trade your opponent. But now it's like Reed doesn't really have to keep trading. Look at the life totals. You can just beat him up instead.
Yep. Yeah, Bloodbraid Elf, I know for a long time people were really yearning to see this off the Modern ban list. But playing against this card is so miserable.
It's so good. Last of our Game 1s is in. The blue-black control deck of Syed takes Game 1.
That makes sense. Fatal Push versus Winding Constrictor. Like Syed a lot.
I actually I'm okay playing Constrictor in that matchup. You see that Mantis Rider eats a Lightning Bolt. I think you're right, though, and it's no better than even.
Yeah.
What I like about Constrictor is that there are very few threats that you can just let hang around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess Winding Constrictor is the only one.
Right. Last 2 cards for John. Correction, he still has 1 left, but it's a Thalia and a Phantasmal Image copying Tarmogoyf. So he got rid of Reed's card advantage engine. He's hoping that Reed's hand is lands and that Reed can brick for a couple of turns. Yeah. Reed's deck pretty flush with things that can target Phantasmal Image. Yeah, right now, as it stands on the board, Reed does not have a way through the image. Now, is half his deck live to answer it? Yes. Mm-hmm. Just a couple cards in hand, though. Yeah, I mean, and we know one of them is Scavenging Ooze, and that's not going to help. Well, actually, I should correct myself. Scavenging Ooze does just fine to win this fight. You can just make both the Goyfs terrible. Also gain a bunch of life and inevitably have a creature larger than Tarmogoyf. Yeah, Jund's dumb. All your cards do a lot of things. It's a powerful deck. You don't want to get into like this mid-range slog against Jund. Like all their cards, look at all this stuff you get for 2 mana. You get a 5/6, you get a Graveyard, Hate, Life Gain, 7/7. Mm-hmm. I ran into Reed and Chris at the hotel last night, and I said, well, it's obviously a good spot in Modern. Jund's very good. Reed is Reed. And Chris was concerned that Jund might be too good, as in people are going to start gunning for it. This is not one of those matchups. Hard to gun for Jund. Yeah, pretty much have to be playing Tron or Eldrazi Temple. Dredge, also a pretty bad matchup. But yeah. These creature matchups, you're pretty fine. And obviously Reed's down a game here, but this one looks pretty comfortable. I mean, last time Jund was really good before the unbanning. Pro Tour returned to Ravnica. 30% of the field was Jund. Ugh. Was won by Second Sunrise combo, though. Over Jund. Yeah, that deck was really messed up. Stanislav Sivka versus Yuyo Watanabe in the finals of that. Dismember takes care of Scavenging Ooze. Jonathan recognizing that that card will become a problem very quickly. But he's down to 6 life. Yeah, these Dismembers are taking their toll. I mean, right, Dismember, when you have 2 of them in your sideboard, it's the kind of card where you really only ever want to see 1 of them in a game. Mm-hmm. And awkward thing, follows up with Noble Hierarch. Technically, his Tarmogoyf has a good attack, but because of life totals, that's just not true. Yeah, attacks and Reed will say, all right, I'll take. Yeah. Hit you back. Crack back, probably for lethal. Oh, yeah, even because of the Treetop Village? Yeah, probably for lethal. Yeah. But if they get in this holding pattern, eventually Reed will draw a Planeswalker, a Bloodbraid Elf. Mm-hmm. Just the average top deck.
I can just keep going.
Average top deck just a lot better for Reed than it is for Rosum.
Colligan's Command. Oh, well, how about we kill Thalia and we just kill Phantasmal Image with it. That seems great. Hit with Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, you can't hit 2 creatures if neither of them are artifacts.
Yeah, it's not like Colligan's Confluence.
That card's already really good. I don't think we need to make Colligan's Command better.
So first match result is in. Jarvis Yu 2-0 again is a winner in Legacy. He defeats Dylan Donegan.
Yeah, Jarvis going into the weekend, he was telling me, I'm sick of this farce that Grixis Delver's close against lands. He's coming here to teach everybody a lesson. Another
Scavenging Ooze from Reed, and John will pick up the cards. So Jarvis gets a match when he needs one of his 2 teammates to mount a comeback, and it looks like Reed is up to the challenge, takes game number 2, and we are going to go ahead and head to a 3rd game. Do I want to play a game 3 post sideboard against Jund? Not really.
No, certainly not against Reed Duke.
I just assume dodge the Reed Duke matchup most tournaments.
That's a good strategy.
All right, we'll have that game 3 when we come back. Players still shuffling here for game number 3. John Rosum will get to be on the play here against Reed Duke. You see he needs this win, and he needs Zan Syed, teammate you see over on the left. Both of them need to finish these matches.
With 2 games to go, Zan up a game, I do feel pretty good about that.
I like that one.
The big hurdle is Rosum's own match.
Yeah.
He needs a hand that looks nothing like his game 2 hand.
Yeah, the fact that Zan as the control deck, even if this game 2 might be tough, but game 3 that he gets to be post-board on the play in the matchup. A lot of the times when I win with Sultai Constrictor in this matchup, it has to do with me getting out an early start, landing a key Blossoming defense, really keeping my opponent off balance. The fact that Zan will get to be on the play and be post-board, if not game 2, I really like his game 3.
Yeah, it's just a situation where playing a Sultai Constrictor instead of something like mono-red aggro, the Sultai deck just needs more mana to play, so blue-black has more time to set up.
Sultai starts on turn 2.
Yep.
And there's a lot of really good 3-mana removal. So if they go turn 2 drop, you can be like 3-mana kill spell, go. And like, all right, another 2 drop, draw a spell or something like that. It's not too hard. Mulligan here from Rosum. You hate to mulligan against Jund.
Yes, certainly on the play.
This is,
constantly going down cards.
Personally, I hate losing to Jund because it's such a good deck. That's why I always play Primeval Titans.
So
at least then I can always top deck it.
The unbannings were very unfortunate for the decks I like, because Jund used to be a very good matchup for Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And Bloodbraid Elf is such a bad matchup for Snapcaster Mage. The other 56 cards almost don't matter.
See, both Bloodbraid Elf and Snapcaster Mage are a reasonable sized creature that brings something else along.
One of them does it for free.
Yeah, one of them casts it for you. Turn 1 Aether Vial from Rosum. A good play, but on a mull to 6 on the play, I'm really scared about this against Jund.
Yeah.
I almost don't want the Vial,
Right.
And then, because this happens, Inquisition of Kozilek from Reed, we see, okay, we see why I kept the Vial. He's got 4 creatures. Image, Freebooter, and then Direfleet Daredevil.
Okay. This hand can do some work.
Yeah. Now,
Rosum kind of wants to draw a second land for the turn, so he can just get the Freebooter online.
Yeah, I mean, what you'd really hate is that Rosum misses the land, puts Vial at 1 and says go, and then Reed Abrupt Decays the Vial, then the game's like pretty much over.
That's bad.
But this is a reasonable 6, actually.
Yes.
And Reed will take Direfleet Daredevil, which was, I think, the true 2-for-1 here.
Right. Also suggestive that Reed might just have multiple removal spells in hand.
Well, otherwise, right, the Vial gets to 2, and you'd see Daredevil Vialed in, and you'd flash back the Inquisition. But here's Kitesail Freebooter, and we'll see the options.
Okay, technically multiple removal spells, but a pretty clunky hand.
It's land 2, land 3, Terminate Liliana, Kitchen Finks Ooze. Can Freebooter take Lily? So Kitesail, he has a choice, Terminate or Liliana.
I think you want to grab the Terminate so you can set up Image on Freebooter, and probably just grab the Liliana.
Now the worry here is that John's making 1/2s for 2, and Reed could actually just win the race.
Correct. Yeah, Rosum is really looking to draw things like his Mantis Riders.
Yeah, Thalia's Lieutenant. Some way to push more damage. Now Reed only has 2 lands. One of them's a shock land, and one of them's actually a tap land.
Yeah, Raging Ravine was in the holdings. And then for Rosum, he saw that Scavenging Ooze, and Phantasmal Image is just a lot worse against Ooze than it is against Tarmogoyf. He would rather Reed just had a Goyf.
Yeah, well, especially because John doesn't have any green mana.
Yeah. Yeah, you just can't activate it if you make that.
John did set his Cavern Souls to Illusion, so he will be able to cast the last 2 cards in his hand. Reed shocks for Scavenging Ooze and passes. Looks like Razor Verge Thicket the pickup for Jonathan. That's not right.
I think Rising Canopy.
Rising Canopy. Yeah, the other green-white land is like, wait, they don't play that.
Canopy a little bit better.
I suppose.
I like lands that redraw.
I do like that.
Choice between casting both images or cracking the Canopy on this turn. Double image does not seem great on this turn.
Yeah.
I think that Rosum, you might see him go for crack Canopy, try to find a Hierarch before combat.
Swings for 1, not going to make that line. I was thinking about that too, actually. Here's Illusion. He'll target Scavenging Ooze, make Horizon Canopy.
Okay, this is actually an interesting line. Gets ahead with green mana, gets to exile the only creature in the graveyard.
All right, I'm in.
And he can still vial in the other image and grab the Liliana. He's going to be in a bit of trouble if Reed finds another removal spell.
Oh, then it'll just start a chain reaction.
Yeah, because right now, the Liliana Edict is so bad for Rosum that either frees up the Terminate or sets it up so that Ooze is gone, and then Reed's Ooze can eat the image.
I was expecting to see during draw step an image, but he didn't. He lets Reed draw the card.
He knows that the land that Reed already had was Raging Ravine, so Reed has to find an untapped land to cast Liliana this turn, though I do agree. I would have liked to have seen the image.
You're right. Maybe Reed doesn't have the land. Maybe I'm playing too scared.
This hand just does not have very much closing speed, and the House of Cards does collapse to any removal spell.
Okay, so like if you're setting that other image to freebooter, the problem is you just aren't dealing enough damage.
Yeah.
I can see that.
If Reed just has like Raging Ravine, Tarmogoyf, copying the Tarmogoyf could be much more significant.
He wants Reed to make Kitchen Finks so he can image the Kitchen Finks because that's nice.
Image on Kitchen Finks, yeah. Really powerful.
When it persists back, you can repick.
Yep. And that would insulate against Liliana.
Yeah, okay. So he's hoping, that's fair, he's hoping to dodge the black mana here.
And if Reed does cast Liliana, Rosum can just flash in the Phantasmal Illusion response.
Sack it, attack Lily for 1, move on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in. Scavenging Ooze attacks.
That is suspicious.
Suspicious, yeah. What do you read it for, Ryan?
Anything that can target the image just kills it.
Is it Bolt? Bolt, was he hoping Bolt the freebooter, eats the freebooter, trade the board? Is that what do you think Reed wants to have happen?
It kind of looks like that.
Right, because if John blocks, he can do that. And if the whole board trades, then like Reed's made, right?
Yeah, and removal spell on freebooter, get your Terminate back, trade these Oozes, that's all very good.
And he knows that Rosum's hand is image. And I guess that line doesn't really fold to image at all. And that's what's going to happen. No blocks, so then Reed will actually bolt this Phantasmal Image and then eat it. He gets the 3/3 now. This is pretty respectful on Reed's side. Instead of, there's a lot of temptation to bolt the Kitesail freebooter and get the Terminate and try to 2-for-1. Reed actually declines the 2-for-1 just to get board pressure.
Yep, just pulls ahead out in the race. A lot of his deck really cleanly deals with that freebooter anyway.
Yeah. John Rosum draws Ancient Ziggurat. Ugh.
Oh, it looks like he picked up Mantis Rider, and he has the mana to make that and image it right away.
Make it, image it, swing 7, reads at 11. Wait a second. Yeah, you're right. That's great.
Masters 25,
John out of cards, but he's got pressure.
Ready to begin. Masters 25.
Oh, Reed played a removal spell last turn, too.
Draft is ready to begin.
The Liliana is still pretty impactful on this board.
Yeah, if you're in John's spot, do you sack? Huh.
So if you sack the freebooter, you give the Terminate back. Reed can't cast it right away, and you get to jam for 6, put Reed to 5, but then you get terminated
eat
next
2
turn.
things with Ooze.
Yeah, the Ooze gains some life, cracks back for more. Sacrificing the image, probably just the safer play there.
Yeah, I think so. What if Reed has a Terminate? He terminates the Mantis Rider and eats it with Scavenging Ooze and swings. It looks like no more lands on Reed's side. Reed up to 12, John to 13. The race is actually pretty close. Reed drops to 8 on the attack. Scavenging Ooze doing a pretty good job there. And here's Thalia. In case you're wondering about that Liliana, how about not?
Yeah, now Reed will need another land for that.
Yeah, and a lot of his lands make him pay life points, either shocking or fetching, even if he hits one.
Also,
Ooze will attack.
Getting the Terminate back against the Thalia makes it even harder to convert that.
3 mana from Reed Duke. Here's Kitchen Finks. He goes up to 10. He has a tap land. It's a Blackcleave Cliffs. Let's go. 10 and 9. This is real close.
Huge draw for Rosum.
Another Mantis Rider. Oh my. Here's a swing for 7. Reed's going to drop to 3 on the attack.
Question of whether to send the Thalia as well. Looks like he declines to.
Okay. Yeah, this was a race that looked like it could go either way, but now it is strongly in Rosum's favor.
Yep. And mana's really constrained here. That Thalia makes it really tough for Reed to cast 2 spells on this turn.
He can't really attack for 9. You know, he can't present a lethal attack because of first strike. He can't gain life.
Without another land, you don't have the option to kill the Freebooter, get the Terminate back, and cast it.
Yeah.
Not to mention that both the Mantis Riders are lethal.
Yeah, I mean, you can get around that by killing one and eating it, or something like that. But there's just this Thalia that's all so much mana. Removal spell, Scavenging Ooze activation. So Reed swings with both. And you wonder whether this is one of those I have no outs, so I'm attacking situations.
Looks a lot like it. This attack, if Rosum doesn't block, this is lethal with the Lightning Bolt.
Okay. I don't want to leave myself to lethal, dead to a Lightning Bolt.
Collective Brutality as well.
Yeah, this is actually interesting because this is not a free block from Rosum. It's not clear what all he wants to play around.
Putting the Thalia in front of the Kitchen Finks is pretty reasonable.
Reed gains life. Do you care?
Not really.
Okay.
I guess figure out how many cards are in Reed's hand, how many of those cards are you dead to. Because a lot of Rosum's draw steps from here don't have any significant impact on anything that's happening.
Well, Ryan, this is for everything now. Syed 2-0 defeats Chris Pikula. So let's put some extra pressure on the board.
Might make sense to put Thalia in front of Scavenging Ooze.
Just jump.
Because it could gain 1 life, and then Mantis Rider plus Freebooter is still lethal. Whereas Reed gaining 2 life could get a little bit more muddy.
Yeah, so if you put it in front of Scavenging Ooze, then Reed needs 2 removal spells.
Yeah.
I think you found it. That, of all the options, is the strongest. See, now Rosum discussing with Zan. Zan now can give full attention. Yeah, the chump on Scavenging Ooze is pretty attractive here. You make that play, your opponent plays Liliana, and then you shake his hand and say, I gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, if all Reed is doing is casting Liliana, that's just not a problem.
Yeah. And he will block Kitchen Finks. This is still very concerning on Reed's side. And it's not clear that he can beat this block either.
Right.
Oh, I guess the worry, Ryan, if you chumped the Ooze with Thalia, is that you've taken the Thalia off the table. So now removal spell into Terminate is far more live.
That's also true. And given that you just know about Liliana, there's not really much that can go wrong with this block.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be worried if you make the other play right. Liliana's for 3, -2. If you can't give him the Terminate because then he could go untapped land, terminate another thing. And
yeah.
Okay. So hits in 4. Jonathan goes down to 5 from the Ooze. Kitchen Finks persists back. Reed goes to 5. 7 power in the air. Scavenging Ooze does not have any targets. Reed, post-combat, has something big.
This kind of feels just like it's that Liliana, which is just not going to be enough.
It's not good enough. Yeah, Liliana. Liliana of the Veil, -2.
Yeah, just don't sacrifice a Mantis Rider.
There's no way. Yeah, if you just sacrifice Thalia, aren't we done? Sacrifice a Kitesail Freebooter?
Anything but Mantis Rider. And I like sacrificing the Freebooter because Reed still hasn't made a land drop, and now he can't cast anything.
6 power in the air. Reed, if he makes a green mana, the best he can do is eat something with Scavenging Ooze. or cast nothing. Yet there's no outs here.
Nope.
Back to Rosum. She's just got to push the Flyers forward.
Yep. Yeah, that shove should do it.
See Donegan and Syed looking on. I think they see it too.
Yeah, they're going to cover their bases, but yeah, just attack. That should be.
And here's the swing. The two humans in the air, and Reed extends the hand. So the comeback is completed. The Lotus Box team here, they move to 4-0-1, stay undefeated, thanks to a comeback there from John Rosum. Really close game 3, Ryan.
Yeah, the first 2 games were not the greatest, some bad hands to start things off, but that game 3, the back and forth, some really good navigation by Jonathan Rosum there.
You know what I